Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Wednesday, 7 January. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about Trump has weighed military options to take control of Greenland. A Russian submarine has been sent to escort the tanker that the US tried to seize off Venezuela. And the UK and France have signed a declaration of intent to send forces to Ukraine in the event of a peace deal. So firstly, US President Donald Trump is considering options that include military action to take control of Greenland, the White House said on Tuesday. The White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Trump views acquiring the mineral-rich Arctic island as strategic national security priority, or as a strategic national security priority, to counter Russia and China. The president and his team are discussing a range of options to pursue this important foreign policy goal, and of course, utilizing the US military is always an option at the commander-in-chief's disposal, she said in a statement. Trump has renewed his interest in the island in recent days following the US military seizure of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Trump has argued that US control of Greenland is necessary and strategic to counter the growing Russian and Chinese activity in the Arctic. The US already operates a space base in northwestern Greenland. So what? While I think it's highly unlikely that the US will use military force to get Greenland, this type of rhetoric, like regardless of that, this type of rhetoric is just extremely damaging to like Western cohesion. I've talked about this quite a bit, but the US is losing a lot of its soft power when it comes to allies. This is down to, the abandonment of people that they used to support, such as Ukraine. They haven't fully abandoned them, but, withdrawing support and pulling back. And similar to NATO and, similar in Asia as well. And hence why we see South Korea talking to China for the first time in a very long time. This stuff has serious implications. And while it's probably good for European unity and European defense, it's going to have some serious implications on how the US is viewed around the world. What will be interesting to me is how this continues or what happens at the end of Trump's presidency, because I feel like there's going to be some serious backtracking from the next US president, especially if they aren't Republican. The US is isolating themselves pretty significantly and doing some stuff that I don't think people thought the US would ever do, such as kidnapping Maduro from his bed in the middle of the night. I don't know. This is damaging to Western cohesion and us all working together to counter Russia and China. There's other ways he could do this. He could fucking make deals that, he's this amazing deal maker. He could make a deal that gives him access to these resources and increases military access to Greenland. But instead he wants to talk about taking it militarily and, upset all of Europe who are his closest allies. So I don't know. And next, on Tuesday, Russia dispatched a submarine to escort an empty rusting tanker, the Marinia, formerly the Bella 1, which the US Coast Guard had has been trailing in the East Atlantic for about 300 miles south of Iceland. Okay. After Western sanctions, analysts say Jesus, this is a very confusing way to write this ground news. After Western sanctions, analysts say Western sanctions following Russia's invasion of Ukraine helped spur a fleet of 1,000 tankers. The US seized two crude oil carriers, Skipper and the Centurions, and Moscow denies operating this shadow fleet. After December's interception bid, the tanker's crew painted a Russian flag and renamed the vessel and altered its registration to being in Russia. So what? I mean, this is just par for the course at this point. Russia needs to sell its oil. It needs to make money to continue its war effort. This is something we've discussed many times. And this is the best way for it to do it. So, of course they're going to try and maintain this fleet of shadow tankers. This is how trade has happened for, pre-World War One. This is what everyone did. And, military escorts of trading vessels are very historic. So, maybe the Navy's going to have to go back to how it used to be, with navies trailing and escorting trading ships around the world. I don't know. Would be a pretty interesting thing if Russia started attacking or trying to seize Western trading ships. Would change the dynamic pretty significantly. Or if China tried to do the same. Yeah, it would be wild. And lastly, on Tuesday, Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron signed a joint declaration pledging to deploy troops to Ukraine if a peace deal was reached, unveiled in Moscow by Macron, Zelensky and Starmer. As background, the Coalition of the Willing was formed at the start of last year as an Anglo-Franco initiative to consolidate European support for Ukraine, with Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff attending recent talks. Military details include creating military hubs in Ukraine to store equipment and multinational forces and a multinational force by British and French forces to reassure by air, sea and land, with the United States backing the force if attacked. Paving a legal framework, the declaration allows British, French and partner forces to operate in Ukraine after a ceasefire, while Keir Starmer said the UK would join the US-led verification, but number 10 would guarantees remain hypothetical without a ceasefire. Russia has rejected the proposal involving NATO-style guarantees, and a couple of people said Moscow will not accept NATO troops in Ukraine. Vladimir Putin's demand to control Donbass, roughly 10% held by Ukraine, complicates any peace settlement. So what? This is all well and good, but we need to get there first. Making deals and agreements for what's going to happen after this war is only helpful if we finish it, basically. I don't really think this changes anything outside of makes the peace settlement even more complicated, because Russia is not going to agree to, NATO forces being in Ukraine. That's one of their big issues with any peace settlement. So I don't know. I think this kind of makes things more difficult currently, and could have just been done in secret without the media hoopla, to try and keep any peace negotiations on track. It's likely that this is going to upset the US, who will see it as a way of trying to derail the peace negotiations that are currently underway. So yeah. Anyway, that's been your Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See you.